Welcome back to the Algebra 2 series. Here we're going to be graphing polynomial functions, and in this case, the polynomial that we have, a fourth degree polynomial, has not only a pi for coefficient, but has some other values in here that prevent us from factoring it down and graphing by hand. Of course, in the end of this example, we will want to graph it by hand on this coordinate plane, but we're going to use a graphing calculator to help us do that. So first I'm going to bring up our TI-84 Silver Edition that we use in class, and we're also going to type in on the TI-84 the same equation that you see here, or the same function. So over here we've done this before, but let's go ahead and review that. That's x, and then we'll use the up arrow in order to get the 4 in there. So type in 4 for your power, minus, the pi is located as a second up arrow. That'll get you the pi, and then an x cubed. So x again, up arrow cubed, minus 4x, and you can just hit the x squared key for that one, then plus 8x, and plus 1. We've got that in there. Typically we zoom to standard here because that way we will get a 20 by 20 grid, and then we'll look at it and see if we need to adjust our window. And it looks pretty good. It looks like the bottom of the graph, or the local minimum there, is a little bit out of the picture. So I'm going to adjust things a little bit. I'll use a little bit wider range on the y's and a little narrower range on the x's. So going into the window, I'll use a negative. Let me clear my key press history so that we can start again. Negative, maybe negative 6 to 6. And then for the y minimum, I'll go down to negative 25. And I believe the 10 is just fine for the max. So try the graph again. Oh, it looks good. Okay, so now we've got the picture that we're looking at, and we kind of have an idea of where we want to go. So I'm going to click back over to here into our work on this side, and I'm just going to get started on this. We see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like somewhere in between 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3. Somewhere in here we've got an intersection, and we've got one a little bit after 1, and it looks like we've got one very near the origin. It's hard to tell which side it's on. It looks like it could be shaded to the left a little bit. Another one over here. And what I'm going to do is ghost that in a couple times, coming up through, and do a fairly decent job of sketching this. Looks like I missed a couple of those. I'll make those dots a little bigger. That should take care of business there. All right, so we've got our picture in there. Now in class I mentioned what we'd like to do is we'd like to find this local minimum, this local maximum, this local minimum down here, and then we would also like to find all of the x-intercepts. It appears that the y-intercept is also interesting. I believe it's at 1. If I go back to my original problem, notice that the y-intercept here is at the number 1. So that is another point that's right in here, right in there. That is 0, 1. I'm going to label that right away. So clearly we see that the x-intercept is not quite at the origin. It's a little bit to the left, it appears. So let's go back to our graphing calculator here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find this little guy right here. That, I don't know if you can see my little thing going there, but anyway, let's do that with the graphing calculator. And we're going to do that with the second calculate, and it's going to be a 0. Calculate a 0. I need my left and right arrow keys to get to the left and right. We've done this computation before. Click there, a couple of clicks to the right, click again, enter. Should give me a number. We'll round this to the to 4 decimal places just for the sake of this example. And on our homework, we'll write it this way. Negative 1.714, comma 0. That's done. We'll come back to here. Now we'll find the minimum. So second, calculate a minimum. This time we're going to go to here. We'll click to the left and click to the right of that local min. Should give us this point down here. I like to put a little arrow there. I'll mark this in. Negative 1.1026, comma, negative 6.9945. And I can continue along there. As you see here, we'll go back to calculating away here. The next one is a 0. And calculate that 0. And that's this guy right here. Now this is a tricky one. This guy was the one that looked like it could have been at the origin, but it's not quite. It's at negative 0.1186, comma 0. That from the ordered pair. A couple more to go here. We're going to find the maximum. And that's this guy over here. This is the local maximum. Again, we're just using the computation abilities of the calculator to find these values, 0.6445 rounded, and then 3.8260. That's for that guy. We have another x-intercept, a minimum, and then the final x-intercept. So by the time you're finished, you're going to have an ordered pair for this guy, and an ordered pair for this guy, and an ordered pair for that guy. So that's the way it looks. It's a little bit messy, but at least you're using your graphing calculator to help you find some of those values. This one fairly complicated because we had so many to do. There you go.